Well, hello and welcome everyone to Inspirations from the House. I'm so happy you're joining me today. My name is Deborah Kalinikos. I'm your host and guide here at E-Schoolhouse. Our mission is to engineer a change in education one family at a time. Now, why do I put it that way? Well, I started my career as an engineer, and because I'm an engineer, I love to solve problems. And I do believe that we've got some big problems in our education system. And so I want to begin to solve those problems by helping parents understand the things that they can do with their children at home in order to increase how much their children learn, no matter where your children go to school. Public school, great. Private school, great. Homeschool, great. The skills that I can teach you here will help you coach your children to get the absolute most out of their education. So today we are talking about how self-reflection can increase learning. Now, this is kind of a big topic, and so I'm going to take the next two sessions in order to totally cover it. Today is mostly about explaining what do I mean when I say, that we're going to self-reflect to increase learning. So there are so many, three different ways I think that I found that people use the term self-reflection kind of interchangeably with some other terms, for example, self-audit or self-assessment. So before I even get started with the whole self-reflection thing, I do want to address that because honestly, I don't want to split hairs. It doesn't matter. The skill that I want to teach you today is going to help your child learn more. It doesn't really matter to me what you call it. But just for the sake of clarification, let's talk about those three different things and what they mean. Self-audit is really just that. It's a way of making a tally, making a list of your talents, of the things that you like, of your skills, of your abilities, of your tools, of your personality traits, making an audit of those things so that you know yourself better. Okay. We're not going to be coaching our children to that. We're not talking about self-auditing today. Self-assessment is basically a way for a child to assess his own learning, his own understanding, his own performance when he's trying to learn something new or do something new. For example, if he paints a picture, how does he think about the picture? How would he rate himself? Those types of things. Now, we are going to talk about some self-assessments, but that will happen next week. Today's focus is all about self-reflection, basically just understanding our own motivations and why we do the things that we do. When we can lead children to understand their own motivations, it is amazing how they can use that information to really increase what they learn. When children understand their own motivations, when they understand their own feelings, when they understand their own attitudes, they're going to seek out those things and do them over and over again if they lead to good, positive results. And that's what we're looking for. When children get good, positive results, then they feel good about themselves. And that is the goal. Okay. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about things that help children feel good about themselves. When a child is being helpful, especially a small child, they feel so proud. They're just so happy to be helpful. Another way that children feel good about themselves is when they have this sense of accomplishment. They are learning a new skill, learning a new topic. When they accomplish learning something new, whether it be a skill or a topic, they feel really good. They feel like they've accomplished something. When children earn higher grades or good marks on tests and projects and things at school, they feel a real sense of accomplishment. And that is important. And so what we're going to talk about today is to help children reflect back on their motivations, their attitudes, and their feelings into how they got to that accomplishment. So, another thing that helps children feel really good about themselves is when they solve a problem using information that they gained somewhere else. And what do I mean by that? So, when one of my little granddaughters, I think she was about 5, and she had this magic wand and it broke. And she asked her mom to fix it. But, mom was in the middle of making dinner or whatever and wasn't able to fix it. So my granddaughter decided she was going to fix it herself. And she got some things together, some tape, some glue, some paper, and she actually fixed her magic wand herself. And the look of accomplishment, the look of pride on her face for having fixed that magic wand was absolutely priceless. She felt so good about solving that problem. Another way that children feel good about themselves is when they earn a new privilege. They get a new responsibility that helps them feel so good about themselves. And one last way, and I was kind of brainstorming all these different ways, that children feel good about themselves when they do something that was previously scary. And I'm reminded of one of my other granddaughters. She's a sweet little girl and very sense of adventure. However, was a little tentative to try some new things. And the whole family was at the lake and they were jumping off rocks, jumping into the water. And it was maybe 5 or 6 feet above the water. And the older kids are all jumping in and she really wanted to do it. So she gets up on the rock and then she looks down, and you know how that is when you get like on a high dive or something, it's higher than it seems. And so she's up there with her dad and she's standing there kind of like this. She's got her little life vest on and it just swamps her because she's tiny and she's all scared. You could tell she wanted to do it, but you could tell she didn't want to do it. And dad is doing his dad thing, basically saying, look, you don't have to, but if you want to, I'm right here, and mommy's down there and you're not going to get hurt and all this kind of stuff. And while he was talking to her, she jumps. And it's the cutest thing because she jumps and then her little head pops up above the water and you can hear her say, I did it. I did it. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're looking for. Our children to recognize that feeling of accomplishment when you hear them say, I did it. I did it. And we want them to reflect on how they got to that point. What did they do to get to that point? That is today's topic. So when we can help our children understand why they thought the things they did, why they chose some of the things they did, why were they motivated to do these things, then we help them understand themselves so much better. When we help our children reflect on these experiences, we set them up to build this lifelong habit of self-reflection, and think how much they can grow from that. Okay. So learning happens everywhere, and you can use these self-reflection techniques everywhere. But in order to really help understand and help me drive the point home, I'm going to just put this all within the context of a story, because I think that's going to be the best way to explain it. So one of the universal rites of passage of all children is learning how to ride a bike. So I'm going to use the example of a child learning how to ride his bike, and when I'm teaching about how to use self-reflection. So here we go. Riding a bike. Okay, usually by about the age of 4 or 5, a child is ready to start learning how to ride a bike. They're also ready to start learning these self-reflection techniques. So it's kind of the perfect example. So let's start with little Joey. He's in the 1st grade, which means he's about 5 or 6 years old. And he's been wanting to learn to ride his big boy bike for a while, but he's a little scared, okay? One Saturday morning, the weather is beautiful, and Dad goes to Joey and says, Joey, let's learn to ride that bike today. I think that today is the perfect day. Joey's like, no, Dad, it's really not the perfect day. Yeah, I do want to learn how to ride it, but today is not the day. Today is the day that I'm going to stay and play with my Legos. And Dad's like, okay, he's not going to push him. Dad doesn't see any reason to push him, so that's good. A few minutes later, Joey's older brother, Marcus, comes running into the room. He's like, Dad, a bunch of the kids from the neighborhood are riding their bikes to the park with their dads to play capture the flag. Can we go? Dad looks at Joey and says, "You want to go to the park, play capture the flag?" And Joey's like, "Yeah. Do I have to ride my bike?" And Dad said, "Well, no, but let's learn. Let's use that to help you learn to ride your bike." And Joey agrees. Okay. So they go outside, they get all set up to ride the bike, and they get out on the driveway. Dad lowers the seat so Joey's feet are flat on the ground, helps Joey see, look, you're not up that high. It's okay. Puts on Joey's helmet, shows him how to work the brakes, does the normal dad thing, and then gets Joey up on the seat. And Dad's holding on to Joey while Joey's sitting on the bike. And right now, of course, Dad's doing all the work. And he mentions that to Joey. Right now, I'm the one helping you balance. But once you get moving, it's all you. You have to balance the bike. But it's a whole lot easier when you're moving. So Dad explains, here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to run beside you and everything. He tells Joey exactly what he's going to do. Joey's, he's scared. His lip is quivering. He goes, "But what if I fall?" And Dad's like, "Then you fall." Okay, so they get going. And Dad gets Joey pedaling, and he starts running beside Joey. And finally, Dad just lets go. And so does Joey. And he falls over. And Dad goes up to him and says, "Are you okay?" And Joey's fine. And Dad's like, "All right, let's try that again." Joey's like, "Dad, I don't know. I just can't do it." And Dad said, "But you let go. When I let go, you let go. You can't do that. You have to keep going. You have to keep pedaling. So let's do this again." So Dad gets Joey back up on the bike, and they start going again. And when Dad lets go this time, Joey doesn't let go. He keeps pedaling and he keeps going. And then he gets going faster and he panics and he lets go and he falls. Okay, once Dad makes sure that Joey's okay, Dad goes up to him and said, "Joey, what happened?" Joey said, "Well, I got a little scared because I was going too fast." And Dad said, "Well, why didn't you use your brakes?" Joey said, "Oh, I forgot." That happens, right? When you're learning something new. So Dad goes back through the example of how to use the brakes, and they try it again. This time, Joey gets going. He's going really the speed that he wants to go. He makes it down 2 house lengths. He stops the bike, and then he turns around to his dad and he says, "I did it." So he's so excited. He learned to ride his bike. Okay. This story, we can use this story to illustrate how a parent or how Dad is going to help Joey self-reflect over this accomplishment. When children reflect on their motivations, their efforts, and their actions, they will learn so much more. Okay. Now, this is a great example because learning how to self-reflect on a skill that you're learning that has real purpose is super, super helpful. Because the purpose of learning to ride a bike is there's so many reasons, right? There's freedom, there's playing with your friends, there's capture the flag. So reflecting on something this purposeful is really going to help Dad explain to Joey how he can use this as a learning experience. Okay, so some of the questions Dad might ask could be things like, "Joey, what made you decide that today was the day? Why do you think you are stopping yourself from learning before today?" Now think about what might be going on in Joey's mind. "Well, I knew today was the day because I wanted to go play capture the flag." "Oh yeah, I was stopping myself before because I was really just scared. But I don't know why I was scared because I did it. I learned how to do it." So think of how Joey can start to reflect back on what he learned. Another question that Dad could ask, "Joey, after you fell, what made you decide to try again? What did you learn each time you tried?" And Joey will think back and go, "Wow, well, each time I tried, I was a little bit better. I was a little bit better until I got it." Okay. Joey, what did it feel like when you were just riding all by yourself? What did it feel like to ride down to the park and play capture the flag with all the kids? Think about how Joey's going to go, yeah, I mean, I did it. He felt big. He felt like he accomplished something. He did have that sense of accomplishment that we're trying to get our children to recognize. Okay. He's also going to reflect on, if I keep working at something, I can learn it. And this is what we want for our children. So I'm going to put all of that together. I've got something that I want to show you. Let me take that off and put this up. Okay, so how does self-reflection increase learning? Okay, throughout this example, and again, we're still talking about the dad teaching Joey how to ride the bike. Dad helped Joey understand several things, how he accomplished the goal. The questions that Dad was asking while they were riding his bike and then later on that day helped Joey understand how he was accomplishing this goal. Dad also helped Joey understand how he was feeling as he was learning. Joey is understanding what factors influenced his learning. He's also understanding the process. What does he think of the process? The process of, well, you try it, you fall, you get back up, you go again, you go a little further. So he's starting to understand the process of learning a new skill. Dad also helped Joey understand how he feels about the end result. What Joey will do the same or differently next time. So maybe Joey's not learning to ride a bike, but he's starting to understand, well, you know what? If I keep trying at something, I will eventually get it. This is what we want children to learn. And this is what we want to pull out of the self-reflection questions. The other thing that we want to help kids understand is their own behavior while they're learning. Okay. So what happens when children are asked to reflect on these experiences that they're having when they are learning? They learn more from the experiences than just the experience. Joey learned much more than just riding a bike. Joey learned that his efforts led to his success. And this is a key thing that we want children to understand. In fact, this was a session in my master class that I'm going to teach on probably in mid-October. Very important that children learn to associate their efforts with their success. They also learn more about their relationships with others and with themselves. Very critical when you ask these questions. Children will also learn how to overcome obstacles. When Joey looked back and he started to realize certain things, oh, wait, I have to keep my balance. Oh, I have to do these things. He's overcoming the obstacle of his own fear. Joey's also learning how to set goals and achieve those goals. Yes, he did learn how to ride his bike, but he's also learning that setting a goal, he can actually achieve a goal if he keeps working at it. And then as he learns more and more difficult things, he's going to dream of other things that he could possibly do. The other thing is, as children are reflecting on what they're learning and how they're learning, they're going to learn their own passions. What are they passionate about? And they maybe even will tap into their life's purpose. Okay. So I hope that this helps you understand this example of learning how to ride a bike, because I believe that's something that all children everywhere in the world do eventually learn how to do. But my whole goal is for parents to help their children get the most out of their education. So I want to use all of these examples to show you how we can ask children to reflect on their academic learning experiences. When we ask children to reflect on what they're learning at school, think what might happen, okay? They're learning more from the experiences in their lessons. They're learning the lesson, but when we're asking them to reflect on it, they're learning how they learned it. They're learning what they were thinking. They're learning why they did what they did during that lesson. They're also learning that their learning and studying efforts lead to their success. Now, with the bike example, it was his effort to ride the bike that led to his success. But here, it's all about how his studying and learning efforts lead to his success in discovering new things and maybe even earning high marks. When we ask children to reflect on what they're doing in school, they also learn more about their relationships with others as they work on teams. And maybe even they learn about their relationship with themselves as they work individually. Very important skill as kids get older. Okay. The other thing is they can learn to overcome obstacles in their approach to understanding. Okay, Joey had to overcome obstacles in learning how to ride his bike. But if your child is struggling to understand something, asking them self-reflection questions can help them understand what's in the way. What's in the way of me actually understanding something? By asking self-reflection questions about their academics, children will learn to set their own learning goals and then achieve them. Okay, they can learn to dream of their future career. And again, the same thing here. They'll learn of their passions and perhaps their life's purpose. Very important to do this self-reflection type of exercise with your children. Okay, so let's go back to here. This type of self-reflection, especially when it comes to when you ask those questions about a child's learning, it can really help your child build resilience in their learning because they're thinking more about it. They're thinking more about their own learning. They're thinking about their understanding. They're thinking about their thinking. We call that metacognition. Very important to help your children learn how to do that. So that way, they can take that skill into their classrooms, into their social environments. They take that skill everywhere if they understand themselves and their own motivation. Now, self-reflecting is really most powerful when it's done in the moment, on the day, or very close to what you're asking your child to self-reflect about. And this allows parents, to help children draw out those lessons. By dad asking Joey about his experience learning to ride the bike, by dad asking that on the day that Joey learned it, it's closer to the event. So Joey can really tap into how he felt and what he learned and what was his attitude and those kinds of things. Okay. This, really just think about learning to ride the bike. Think about all the other things that a child learns when he's learning to ride a bike. Persistence, perseverance, get up, try again, all those lessons that can go into so many other aspects of your child's life. These self-reflection questions will really help your child learn so much more than a subject, learn so much more than one skill. They learn so much more because they are learning how to think about their own learning, how to think about their own understanding. It's really, really powerful, powerful stuff. So next week, what I'm going to do, I've told you what this is and given you a few ideas on some questions. So next week, what we're going to talk about is how you as a parent can find these teachable moments, perhaps in your child's academic life, perhaps in your child's sports life, or the other types of things that they do. But finding these teachable moments where you can ask these self-reflection questions. We're going to talk about that. I'm also creating some tools that you can use, some questions that you can ask, and you can use the questions I come up with, or you can, create your own as you go. The whole goal is to get our children reflecting on what and how and why they are doing the things they're doing while they are learning. And if we can get them to do that, we can get them to reflect on the what, the how, and the why. We will increase their learning. I can't even give you a number, but we will really increase their learning. So I hope that's really helpful. I hope that you understand it. And if you don't, if you have questions or whatever, type them in below and I will answer those during the week, no problem. And I can also answer them next week on our live show. So I thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I sure hope that you enjoy asking your children some of these self-reflection questions. Here's the good news. Here's the good news. I mean, you can't mess it up. How can you possibly mess it up? Ask them a question, and if they answer in a way you don't expect, well, that's feedback, okay? Just try it. Just try to get your child to think about his own learning, to think about his own understanding. And then if you have a fun experience with that this week, oh my gosh, share it with us because we're all learning here and we would all love to hear your experiences. Well, have a wonderful afternoon, have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you here on E-Schoolhouse Inspirations from the House next week. Bye.